Most real estate agents say that if they just knew exactly what to do every single day, they would do it and that would lead to success. Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to show you. I bring on Stephanie Lugo, who is a top real estate coach who breaks down her proven weekly routine day by day, exactly what to do each day in order to get to the point where you're consistently closing a minimum of 2 deals every single month without stress, without overwhelm, and a system in place that is predictable, that gives you clarity and confidence to know exactly what to do every day that will lead to your success. Now, 2 quick things before getting started. Number 1, I will link Stephanie's incredible YouTube channel below, which has over 30,000 subscribers, a ton of incredible knowledge. And number 2, I will link her calendar below in case you would like to chat with her about getting her direct help for free in order to implement systems to help scale your business to radically new heights. But without further ado, let's talk all things weekly routine as a real estate agent that will help you take your business to a completely new level and help you close consistent deals every single month. All right, Stephanie, welcome back. And, one of the things that I hear more than almost anything else is agents tell me if I just woke up and knew exactly what to do, I would go do it. And seemingly,
Mhm.
that's not the case for most people because they don't know what to do because they don't have a routine. And so
Yeah.
I know that you've got, most agents want to get to the point where they're doing at least 2 deals a month and having that predictability to their business. But oftentimes they don't have a routine that's going to even lead them in that direction. And they wonder why they don't get there. So I'm really excited to start diving into, your weekly routine that you've been able to help so many agents break that barrier and be able to build a business that isn't just waking up every day and spending every waking moment in a CRM.
You know what? It's so funny because most of your work truly can get done in less than 2 hours a day. And some of the productivity people in this industry hate to see me coming because I'm always going to say that. But if you truly set your week up right, you can get most of your work done in a pretty decent amount of time. So we don't have to be like burning the candle at both ends. Is that what they say? You don't have to be up all night in your CRM, like clicking, clacking around. But you do have to be strategic with how you set your week up. And so I love a very solid rule of thumb style riffable weekly workflow that 85% of agents can take and run with it. Right? Some agents this is not going to be helpful for, but most of you, and more than likely if you're listening to this episode, you will love this. So get some paper, get a pen, and we're going to go through it. You ready?
I'm ready to go. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm excited about this. Let's dive in.
Yeah, class is in session. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, Monday is going to set our week up for success. Okay, so here's what I love to do with Mondays. I like to either do as much batch work as I can on Mondays, or more specifically, get the most important work done on Monday. Because you know how Mondays are, for real estate, they tend to be a little slower. And for a lot of real estate agents who are working on the weekends, which, is pretty typical. You're either doing open houses or showing houses or like doing the listing appointments while your people are home from work, right? Mondays tend to be a little quieter. And that is perfect for us to do a little bit of our focus work that we would otherwise ignore when we get into the busier parts of the week. So, this can look a little bit different for everyone, but most people can follow these little things that I do on Monday. On Monday, I love to reach out to my database on this day. So, this is a little bit of an old school real estate thing. Have you ever heard of the ABC calls in real estate?
Yeah.
Have you ever? So, I actually think that those are fantastic, right? So many agents come to me with the challenge of how am I supposed to stay in touch with my people and how am I supposed to ask for referrals? And I can't just keep reaching out to the same people every week. No, you definitely should not. But I do love something like the ABC rule. So, if anyone's listening to this and they haven't heard it, Mike has this down apparently, but we're gonna go in and give all the details on it. So, if you break down your year by weeks, there were 52 weeks in the year. There are 26 letters in the alphabet, and if you didn't know, 26 times 2 is 52. So, what you want to do is go through the entire alphabet twice in your year. And that means everybody with each letter in the alphabet is getting reached out to personally. So, Monday morning, I'm pulling up my CRM, filtering from my database people because I have that set up and I'm filtering it or sorting it alphabetically. And whatever the week's letter is, I'm just going to reach out to those people. And you might have two people to reach out to, you might have 20. Doesn't matter. At the end of the year, everything evens out. And you're just going to reach out and act like an actual human to the people who you should have real relationships with, right? So you're going to check in on the family. You're going to check in on work. Oh, what'd you do this summer? What do you got coming up in the holidays? You guys going anywhere? And you're just going to have a real person conversation with them. And at some point, if you're talking to them for like 10 minutes, and for me, I know someone's going to ask, I'm shooting out texts. If I call my people, they're gonna think someone died. So I'm sending texts and I'm having this conversation over text as they get back to me. And it might not be right away, but it's gonna happen throughout the day or even throughout the week, right? Like I might have someone text me back on Wednesday from a text that I sent on Monday, but again, it all evens out. We're not gonna be too particular about the details. We're just gonna make sure that we're having these conversations. And at the end of this conversation, your people who you're reaching out to are going to realize that you have been listening to them talk about themselves for 10 minutes. And they're going to ask, well, what about you? And what you're not going to do is say, oh, I'm busy, busy, busy. Everything's going great in real estate. Nothing to see over here. I'm so successful. That is not what we want to do because your people are going to hear that as a cue of, oh, Steph doesn't need anything from me. Or, oh, Steph must not be taking on new clients. The first time you have someone ask you if you're taking on new clients, I feel like you just fall over as a real estate agent, right? But this is what's going through these people's heads. And so that's your opportunity. Set your week up. Start asking for business first thing on Monday. And it does not have to feel salesy spammy. It doesn't have to feel weird or like you're begging for business, but it could sound something like, oh, so glad to hear things are going well for you. Oh, me, looking into the rest of the year. This is what I have planned. And I'm looking to end the year strong. I'm hoping to work with 4 more clients this year. And seems like a lot of people are selling this year. Had a lot of listings. If you know anyone who's kicking around the idea of selling, but they feel sick with giving up that like sweet 3% interest rate on their home, you got to send them my way. So let me know if you know anyone that like fits that. I'm happy to help, even if they're not like a sure thing right now move, right? I just want to have the conversation and help provide clarity. Imagine having 10 of those conversations every Monday. Your business is going to blow up. And if you stop your week there, or if something comes up, the kids get sick on Tuesday, you have to go pick them up, the entire week is derailed, at least you've started your week having conversations that are going to bring you your warmest, easiest to convert clients. Now, you again might only have 3 of those conversations to have. So you're going to spend the rest of your time batching content and creating content to again lean into that lead generation and marketing. So, like, whatever that might look like for you, if you're posting on Instagram, if you are posting on Facebook or TikTok, wherever, the platform du jour is for you, make sure you're doing that work upfront on Monday when it's a little quiet so that you can set your week up for success. Thoughts?
Yeah. No, I heard about the ABC method, back in 2018 at an event, and I absolutely loved it. And one
Yeah.
of the things that I used to do, because I didn't have a huge database,
Hmm.
I had the time to be able to go do a little creeping on social media of each person before I reached out to them to be able to see like what do they got going on, what's happening, what is like one little nuance that I can pick up on that I can bring up that makes them feel like, oh, I genuinely care. I'm actually taking note of what they're doing. And I would make it personal. And I'd be like, hey, saw you got a dog, saw you went on this trip, saw it was a graduation, whatever the situation was. But you said something really subtle that I don't know if people picked up on, which is almost like a future pace of repeat and referral clients in the sense that I would always weave into that conversation. Oh yeah, like things have been going great. We just helped a family that, for example, if it was a difficult market, didn't think they would able to, were going to be able to get their home sold, but we actually got it sold in 3 days over list price. They're absolutely over the moon. I can't believe how many people are getting more for their homes these days than they thought was going to be possible. It's actually a really cool time. So things are awesome. And I would just plant that seed of like, what is the number one objection I know that they're going to have is the market's this, the market's that. If I'm a buyer, it's this. If I'm a seller, it's that. I would just weave naturally into the conversation a case study of someone we just helped that might have their same pain point and plant that seed in case they're thinking about making a transition, referring somebody. And it's kind of just like that pre-handling of objections naturally in the conversation.
Couple things about that. How many people, and if you're listening to this question is for you. How many people have you reached out to in your life? Friends, family, past colleagues, repeat, who know you're in real estate. And anytime the topic of referrals comes up, even though it's painful for you in the moment, because we don't like to ask for that for some reason, the topic comes up and they immediately say, I'm always sending your name out. I'll always send anyone I know your way, and then you never get a referral. And you're like, what is happening here? I must have reached the bottom of the barrel of my database. I must need a new lead source. I'm going to scrap everything and change my entire business plan. If you're not asking for referrals the right way, you will not be getting referrals because people don't know how to refer you. They just don't. And they don't understand when they should be referring you because it shouldn't be happening when someone's standing outside of a house. It's too late. They've already been speaking with 5 other agents. For me, I want to be referred to people 6 to 12 months before they think they're ready to make a move. Earlier, referral is fantastic, like send them my way. But if I can cut out any other competition and ruin them for any other agents because I give them such an amazing experience and build so much rapport that they would never dream of even looking at another agent. Like if I can do that, then those are the clients that I want. And I'm being like a little like tongue in cheek about that, but it's completely accurate as to what happens because we know statistics say that most clients are going to overwhelmingly choose the first agents that they meet. And so we have to explain that in a like human way, like a real person way to our to our people because they don't know that. They're not going to be able to connect the dots. And the other thing that you mentioned is weaving in those objections, right? Like those that objection handling. It's really important. Your people don't have any idea what's happening in the market. And if they do, they're reading salacious news headlines that probably don't have anything to do with your local market area. And so our job is to kind of hit that head on. And the moment you get a question from the people you're reaching out to, oh, but I heard this. Oh, well, I had a friend who did this. That is what content you're batching for the week. That's the content you're creating. Here's why, or here's what I would tell someone if they were afraid of selling their home at 3.5% interest rate. If that question came up during that real person conversation, that is the first post I'm going to make that week. Because if that other person is thinking that, if that's on their mind, then other people are thinking it too. And so you're kind of hitting two birds with one stone in that way.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And like you say, it's so funny when people are like afraid to ask for business. I'm like, that's also why you're broke. If you give enough value, if you give enough value, it goes back to that concept, jab, 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 right hook. It's like if you don't ask
Yeah.
for the business, it's just like I say this with YouTube all the time. If you don't have a call to action, no action gets taken. And you wonder why
Mm-hmm.
you're posting but not getting results. Like you're just asking. And if you actually genuinely believe in the quality of service you provide, you're bringing value by asking to do the right job so somebody doesn't work with an agent who doesn't care, right? Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Mike, I know this is not a referral coaching topic like in this video, but can we talk about this for one more
Let's
minute?
please. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm so throughout the week I'm asking for referrals because I'm a referral driven business gal. Like that's kind of my MO. Um, so we gotta have this conversation in case there's a mindset, like a limiting mindset thing that's gonna keep people from understanding what we're saying. Okay. Let's say you have a friend who comes up to you and you're like, hey buddy, what's going on? What's new? And they're like, oh man, I started this business last year and it's been going great and I've learned a lot and I love doing this. Like this is definitely what I want to do forever. But so much is changing in the economy and the world and da 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 da. And I'm just really struggling right now and things are really slow and I'm starting to wonder like what I should be should I really be doing this? I love doing this, but I'm starting to doubt myself. What's the first thing that you're going to do? If someone you care about comes to you and says that to you, you're going to instantly say, what do you need? How can I
Mhm.
help you? Oh my, we can figure this out. Like pull up a chair. Let's do this right now. We're going to figure out a path forward for you. Your people care about you. And when we don't give them the opportunity to help us, then they think you're good. And they value your time They respect your expertise. So who are they to try to help you do anything when they don't know what you're trying to do, right? And so that's why it's so important. And you don't have to go up to people saying like, "Oh, please send me a client." Although like maybe that's effective. Maybe try it. I don't know. If you must, if there's nothing else to try, maybe give it a shot. But when you're having conversations with people, this is what I used to do. Oh, things are so great. I'm busy, busy, busy. And then that friend would buy with another agent or be pressured to buy that house with their aunt who has a part-time license and who they don't really like anyway, but they felt like they had to because they had no other options. And you're like, "Why didn't you go with me?" And they're like, "Well, we thought you were you're I didn't know you work with buyers." And you're like, "What?" Like that's like all I do. And we get this all the time. And so like you only have yourself to blame if you're allowing this to continue. And don't assume that your people know anything. And so like the entire week that we're going to talk about is built up to creating opportunities for you to ask for the business. That's what we have to do. So, like, again, sorry for the tangents. It is just how I do things. It's the only way I can get the message across. But I think context is really important here because a weekly flow is one thing, a weekly flow that makes you 2 deals a month. That's what we're shooting for, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's, so we've primed the week, right? So we started on
Yeah,
Monday, we primed the week.
prime the
We're
week.
we're focusing on income producing tasks.
Hmm.
Then it comes Tuesday. What does that look
Tuesday.
like?
Current client calls. I was talking to an agent this week. At one point, this agent was closing over 120 deals a year, and they have over 20 listings. And they're like, I am so overwhelmed. I have no systems in place. I'm telling you, it's not an experience thing, it's just systems. I'm so overwhelmed and I have all these sellers that I need to get back to. And once I like sit down and think like, okay, I need to be reaching out to my sellers because the market has shifted and their home is sitting on the market. It's just the market, like that's just part of it. And I overthink it. Like, what day do I do? What do I say? When do I reach out to them? You got to make this easy. Tuesdays are for current client calls. Get ahead of anything that might come up in the week. Get ahead of any of the uncertainties or fears or moments of overwhelm that your current clients have. And who we are defining as current clients are listings who are sitting. You're reaching out to your sellers even if there's no update. Hey, there's no update. You're good. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. We're watching the market. We saw these numbers come through, and anecdotally, here's what I'm hearing in the office. So here's what you need to know. We're good. We're going to hold tight. Just saying that, even if it's no update, will create so much more calming ground, like a grounding sense in your clients, so they're not just like wondering where you are. But a lot of agents don't do this because they're like, well, what if I have nothing to say? And then they're going to wonder like what I'm doing. Then have nothing to say, but then just let them know there's nothing to say. It's okay. They don't know what's happening either. So we're all good, okay? Other clients are your buyers who are in no man's land. So, like, you're past the due diligence period for your buyers and you're waiting on underwriting and like there's just nothing happening and your clients are like, "All right, so what, we just wait? Like we're just going to wait?" Yes. Yes, everyone's just going to wait and it's going to suck for 2 weeks. I'm going to reach out to you on Tuesday and we're going to hope that this is the same kind of waiting that we're doing because if anything is not good, then we got a problem. But right now we're just waiting on underwriting and that's what's happening. But your clients need to hear this from you. And no amount of buyer guides, seller guides, sending pre recorded YouTube videos that explain the milestones in advance, none of that done in advance is going to prepare your clients to actually go through that transaction period. And so you got to kind of make sure that you're doing those Tuesday client updates, and give yourself a little bit of time so that you can look up the market stats, see if there's anything new that you need to know, like any conversation starters, gather feedback from the open house, gather feedback from that showing on Saturday, and that agent still didn't get back to you until Tuesday because they just do that. Make sure you have all of your stuff, your ducks in a row. Have your templated email if you're sending it to your sellers. Send that email out first. Follow up with a call. Hey, just send an email your way. It's in your inbox. If you want, we can look over it right now. Otherwise, here's the highlights. That's it. You do that on Tuesdays. You leave the rest of the afternoon open for any appointments that you have going on, and you are golden. That's all you have to do on Tuesdays.
Yeah, this is, I want to kind of explain this from my experience as well because I did this and it was one of the most successful things that I did as an agent when it came to being a listing dominant agent. I was very listing heavy because I door knocked every day and you get listings. And
Mhm.
so I was in a very difficult market, similar to what you alluded to in the beginning. In 2017, in my city here in Calgary, 27% of listings were selling. So when everyone's all in a flap about this current market, I'm like, you have no idea what a tough market is. Um,
Yeah.
but every time, because a lot of the listings I got were from people that couldn't sell their home previously. And most agents fail to remember that questions control conversations. And the number one thing that I would ask is, why what didn't you like about your past agent? And as somebody who's a marketer and on social and leaning into advertising, the only thing they ever said 100% of the time was poor communication. It wasn't their
Mhm.
marketing strategy, it wasn't their drone footage, it was terrible communication. And so I said, okay, I'm going to build, as an engineer, a system around it. And so I did it on a different day, but one day a week I would provide an extensive update to 100% of clients. If it's a listing, whatever just came on the market, whatever just went pending, whatever just sold, feedback from open houses, absolutely everything. And the next step, if you really want to wow them, is I recorded a Loom video
Yeah.
of me going through the email, giving additional context because I didn't want to spend 20 hours writing. And I would send the Loom video with the summary via email every single week. And I never had one client ever complain against communication with me. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to get listings. I continue to get referred. The entire experience was flawless because they never once had to wonder what's going on. And as soon as they start, especially listings, if it's sitting and they're not
Mhm.
updated, it is they immediately assume you're not doing your job, right?
Yep.
It's a you problem. You're the agent. You're not doing the job. It's so funny. Like this is a random tangent, but I've got a YouTube video about basically people complaining about real estate agents getting paid too much, and that video is riddled with sellers, not realtors, in the comments saying, no, this is false. I've got a terrible agent. I haven't heard from them the week for 2 weeks. That was a comment I got yesterday. And they're constantly complaining about communication. And everyone puts all this emphasis on their magical marketing strategy and they don't communicate. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing they care about most. Because when you look at the six basic human needs, the number one thing that people crave is to avoid uncertainty. And many, they crave certainty, they want to avoid uncertainty. And everybody else is focused on all the other elements of the transaction and not the one that's actually going to make you seem like the rock star.
Isn't that crazy? And here's the thing, if you are listing heavy and you have a ton of clients that you need to send this out to, guess what you're doing? You're blocking off your calendar for all of Tuesday. You're not scheduling an inspection that day. You're not jumping because someone says jump and you want to go show houses to someone who's barely pre-qualified. You are blocking off Tuesday, all of Tuesday to do that, or whatever day you want to add. So if you're making any changes to this, if Tuesday's not the day, that's fine. Block off your dang calendar. People can wait a couple of hours. The only thing that probably can't wait is like if they're like, "Hey, by the way, thanks for this update. My neighbor wants to sell. Come for a listing appointment this afternoon." Then I
Be
might
right
jump.
over.
Then I might but that again, that only happened because of those amazing Tuesday updates. And I love that you kind of underscore that because this is what gives clients peace of mind. And a lot of agents are like afraid of being found out, like, "Oh, it's the market." Yeah, it's the market. Just explain that to them. That's all they need.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you can back it up with data, like you said, knowing the market, when you can back it up with data and proof, because if
Mhm.
you just say it's the market, they're going to say, well, this person sold, right? Well, why did it sell? Right? Like, why did that sell and yours not? Was it a pricing thing? Was it a positioning thing? Was it a neighborhood? Like,
Mhm.
why? And when you give context, and that's why those Loom videos are so important because you can answer every objection they're going to have. And you can't argue because here's the biggest problem with listings, they're hyper emotional and they've got an ego about their own property.
Yeah.
And you can't argue ego and emotion with math. And when you bring it to a math conversation and give the data, they can't argue with it. And so that's why I always encourage to like know your shit.
Yeah.
Do the research and understand. what you're sharing with them.
Well, we had a listing earlier this year that was in a pretty desirable area, but it's still moving slow. The market was like maybe not as slow as yours was in 2017, but it was really slow, and our sellers were freaking out. We got multiple offers on our seller's property the week of because we know how to price a property. Apparently, that helps. And we walked them through, and our sellers listened to us. Everything was great. We got a call from another agent whose property was sitting for a month, and honestly was pretty similar, like very like for like. And she called us and wanted to know why, because the buyer who had bought that property had also viewed hers, and she wanted to be able to know. And I really appreciated that. I thought that that was some pretty cool due diligence, and I was happy, we were happy to share what we could with her. It was under contract, so we weren't gonna, like, say everything. But I think that that goes a long way too. And this gets into other stuff, like you need to know your market, you need to know data, you need to know your market stats. So if you don't know those things and you don't have current clients, then guess what you're doing on Tuesdays? You're gonna learn those things. Tuesdays
Yeah.
are now your market research day until you have clients to give market research to, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that leads perfectly into Wednesday
Yeah.
because we need to get some damn clients.
We gotta get some damn clients. There we go. Wednesday is our growth and content day. So Wednesday is your suit up day. And I find this very helpful, whose entire week revolves around how often I wash my hair. And so on Wednesdays, we want to be ready to be seen. Okay. And this is when we're going to make sure we have like the outfit. We're going to be ready for content. I had a colleague that we used to work with. He doesn't live in the state anymore. And his day for this was Tuesdays. And he would block off 3/4 of the day on Tuesday. He would have one of his like high school intern friends who, not friends, but like some high school intern would follow him around with his camera and just take contents with of him all day, and that was his like number one lead source. He was creating YouTube content, posting that to Facebook, posting it to Instagram, 10xing that content. And you want to do the similar day. So for me, Wednesdays works, and you're going to batch all of your content. So I've been posting every single week on YouTube for my channel uh, for 6 years. And it's because usually on Wednesdays, once a month on Wednesdays, that's my YouTube day, I'm
What
batching
day
all
is
that.
it today?
What day is it today? Hello, it's almost like I did it by design. Thank you for being so accommodating. But we're batching all the videos for the following month, okay? And guess what? If I'm out of town the following month, I'm batching 8 videos for
Mhm.
the next 2 months, right? And so that works for me really well, and it makes sure I can stay really consistent. Another way that I use my Wednesdays is when I'm done with YouTube videos, if I was doing that, or if I didn't have that, I'm batching a ton of B-roll for Instagram. So I'm taking 15 to 20 minutes to intentionally scroll. And if you have trouble with this, you're setting a timer on your phone for 20 minutes. Like, hey Siri, you're going to set a timer. And for 20 minutes, you're going to save any reels on Instagram if you're posting there that caught your eye. And then you now have your shot list. So you're going to try to recreate any of those B-roll videos that made sense. Maybe you're going to set up your timer on your phone and take pictures. Straight up, Mike, I can't believe like people still ask me how I create content because I'm like, I don't know. Half of it's terrible. I just make sure it's done and nobody knows the difference. Right.
Mhm.
So it's just you doing whatever you need to do to get as much content as you can. You're switching outfits if you must. I don't bother. But making sure you have enough on your camera roll so that the following week, when you're batching your content and you know what you want to post, you at least have the videos and you have some photos that you can use. And after that, that's usually mornings for me. Guess what I'm doing in the afternoons? My hair is done. I can't let this outfit go to waste. So I am meeting with other professionals and growing my database and network. That is when you're going to your networking events. That's when you're meeting people. So I've got an agent meeting with another agent who I work closely with, who I'm going to meet this afternoon. Super excited to see them, excited to see what opportunities come up from meeting another person because conversations create opportunity. If you have no database and you were crying a couple minutes ago when we were talking about Mondays, talking to your database, guess what you're doing on Wednesdays? You are going and meeting new people to add into your database. So you're like setting the coffee dates, you're setting the lunch dates with literally anybody with a pulse who's like happy to sit down with you, right? Because you just never know Like, what opportunities are going to come up from there? So that's your Wednesday. That's your suit up day. Maybe, don't go on a 4-mile run in the morning if you're worried about your hair, and instead do
Yeah.
something different to make sure that you feel ready and confident to meet anybody face to face.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I like that you brought up, like, meeting anybody with a pulse because, like, when I look back in the beginning, because again, I was 24 years old, I didn't know anybody, I just moved here, um, like, my strategies aside from my daily door knocking was and my weekly content creation was going to Eventbrite and Meetup.com,
Oh,
and I
nice.
would join anything and everything, and, like, again, this is not to say anything about old people, my parents are old, but at 24 years old, I was going to, like, this coffee date meeting with, like it was I remember it would be about 12 people every week, and
Mhm,
the average age must have been in their 60s. I was the only one under the age of 50. And I could like I went everywhere. Like I joined every community, I went to every meetup, I went to every networking event. I was just like, what's happening this week? Because I made it a weekly quota to go to two some form of networking meetings every
mhm,
single week, whether it was with startup business owners, entrepreneurs, people that were also in the mountain bike community like me, or random coffee dates with people that were like a completely different avatar. All I cared about was that they did have a pulse, and that I was gonna be able to get in front of new people, right?
mhm,
And I think that's where I had this mentality in my first year where I wanted to be able to look back at the end of my first year and be able to confidently say that regardless of where I ended up, I did whatever it took to get there. And I
mhm,
didn't want to leave any stone unturned because you're right. Like, if you have no business, the only thing you should be doing when you open your eyes in the morning is do what it takes to go get business. And everyone's sitting at home wondering where is it falling out of the sky. Like, go to these two free platforms, go to networking events. The more real estate related conversations you have, the more deals you do. It's a 1-to-1 ratio every time. So, yeah, that's my take.
That's all it is. It's just a
Yeah.
numbers game. Have conversations with people. And, like, I feel like this is a lost art a little bit. Um, you can blame COVID, you can blame social media, or you can just blame people for not being intentional about creating the skill. Like, I am so introverted. I don't wanna go to networking events. I don't wanna
What?
do small talk. I'm also, for those who observe, I'm a stormy Scorpio, okay? So, like, I immediately go into, like, the depths of the most meaty, substantive conversation the moment I'm meeting somebody, you know? Like, that's just who I am. So, like, these are not fun for me, but that was a core part of our business strategy, and by the way, the numbers are if you have for every 100 people in your database, you can see an easy 15 to 20 deals a year just in repeat and referral and doing direct business with them. Like, I think that's worth a little discomfort in the beginning as you get your sea legs under you, learning how to be more social and networky. So if this is uncomfortable for you and this is like feels new, then know that that feeling passes. If you love the in person, don't forget to ask
Yeah,
because you're gonna get so excited. You're gonna be like that golden retriever. You're running around, meeting everyone. You're gonna be in your element. Don't forget to ask. You have to have a call to action. You have to have some kind of a like, hey, by the way, I see you're a financial advisor working with professional millennials. This was one of my like top 50 professional people. I see that you're building your book of business. I have a similar clientele. How can we collaborate? Like, let's see if we can help build each other's business. How can I refer people to you? This is how you can refer people to me. Don't forget to add that in. And if you're like, but I don't know how to say that, go to Chappy GPT. Put together your conversation starters. There's no excuse here. Just be
yeah,
ready, have a little bit of preparation, and you're gonna do great. So that's what we're doing
100%.
on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, and I think there's a beautiful segue into Thursday, which is a major caveat around what you said about every 100 people in your database can turn into 15 deals.
Mhm.
That is if you actually keep in touch with them, um, and actually start to service them and nurture them. And that's where I think, again, everybody's dream is to be able to build a repeat and referral business, but that doesn't come by osmosis. That comes with intentionality. And so let's talk about Thursday.
Thursdays are our database marketing day. So I have this board in Asana that plans out our 12-month marketing plan. It has a recurring task for every third Thursday of the month to put together my email newsletter. So I need to draft an email newsletter and I need to send it out. Well, guess what I did? I have a template for my email newsletter in Flowdesk, and I don't mess with it because it's fine. I never change it. I just change out the content, and it takes me about 25 minutes to do and send it out every third Thursday. The other things that we do is we love to do pop-bys because we're old school and I love gifting things. I'm terrible at gifting in my personal life, but in business, I kind of nail it because I figured it out. And so I'm looking on Pinterest for Popeye ideas and planning ours out once a quarter. We're doing a Popeye. Then we're doing our birthday program. So anybody who comes in to our business who's a past client, we send them something for their birthday. I'm reviewing those lists on a Thursday when I'm not doing an email newsletter or not doing a Popeye. So I'm choosing one thing every Thursday to do that's database marketing. And again, so if we look at, okay, the most important system, in my opinion, for your real estate business is lead generation and marketing. We are, look at how many areas in your week. We're creating very open, loose time blocks to do those things. And one of the things has to be to market to your database. And maybe I should have said this before I got into it, but for the purposes of the conversation, we're going to count people in your database as people who you have their contact information for and who you would stop and say hello to when you pass them in the grocery store. Do not overthink this. We like to use a little rule of thumb called the gut check. So if you're putting someone in your database and you're like, oh, this person, oh, I don't want to reach out to them, they don't need to go in your database. That we can find someone else. But most people are going to be delighted to hear from you. Like if I had some random person send me a hot cocoa kit in the middle of November, I might trust them with my like with anything in my life, like especially if they're going to feed me, right? So like you don't overthink it. It can be very fun. It can be very you. If you don't like tchotchke database gifting, then don't do that. Do something different. But every Thursday, do something for your database. That's the bottom line. We're going to do something that isn't just like a phone call. We're going to do something that's one to many. Marketing, in my opinion, and I wonder if you agree with this, marketing is one to many. Prospecting is one to one. That's happening on Mondays. Marketing is one to many. We're going to do that on Thursday.
Yeah, well, and here's what I find is the coolest part. Marketing is when marketing is done right is one to many, but it feels like one to one. And that's
Yes.
because you've got
Yeah.
clarity on your target avatar and you're speaking directly to them. That's why when people are like enamored by like a Gary Vee or somebody and you're like, "Oh, I feel like he gets me." Yeah,
Mhm.
because you're his target avatar, so he speaks directly
He's
to you.
got your
Like
number.
that's the game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um and like one of the things that I want people to well, there's a couple things I want to quickly unpack here. I used to always make sure that my clients and the people that I believed would turn into repeat and referral were on my Instagram. I would follow them, I would
Oh, yeah.
engage with them, and I would always look at their stories. And one of the things that went so far in my business that actually got me repeat and referral clients, if I ever saw a story or a post where I could tell like something's maybe not going well in their life or something's like, maybe they're having a rough day or they post something that just gives me that inclination, I would send them whether it's something as small as a $10-$20 Starbucks gift card or whatever, be like, hey, saw you're having a rough day, fuel up on me. Just little things that came out of the woodwork because you're watching went so far. And
Mhm.
that's where, like, statistically speaking, if you properly nurture somebody in your database, they could turn into 7 clients over the lifespan of your career. Well,
Yeah.
no wonder some people could scale their business to do 100 plus deals a year because they're growing by sevens, not ones. The most expensive client you're ever going to get is a new client because it costs either time, money, attention, or energy. And when you look at repeat and referral clients, they're free. It's 100% profit, right? And so I don't think people put enough stress on that because there's this glorified hustle culture in real estate where the mindset is like more new instead of just realizing that the simplest way to scale your business and make it profitable is to actually nurture the people that are already sold on you and your process.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It has been to say it's been transformational for our business is like not even scratching the surface. So here's what an agent is going to do if they're listening to this and they're like, "Oh, I haven't spoken to any of my people in 3 years." If you have past clients who have closed in the last 5 years and they should be in your database, but they're not, or if you have friends and family who you haven't had a real estate conversation with and you want to start doing this database marketing, the next Thursday after you listen to this, that's what you're doing. You're either sending out like an email or a text or drafting like an old school letter and sending it out. And you can call out the fact that you've been in touch with them like never or not. Like I could just kick myself for having lost touch with you. They probably have not been paying attention. They don't know it's been 2 years. They haven't even been able to look up, right? And so, hey, hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Your name came across my desk. Was thinking about you. Saw you on Facebook if you're doing a one to one. By the way, in the next year, this is what you can expect to see from me. I'm looking to implement some new things in my real estate business, and I've realized how important relationships are for me. This is what you can expect. I'm starting an email newsletter. I'm starting a quarterly gifting campaign. What's your address, right? It doesn't have to be simple, or it doesn't have to be hard. It can be very simple, but you got to get started with it. So that's what you're going to do in the next Thursday after you're listening to this.
I love it. And
Yep.
so let's talk about finishing the week strong. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get so caught up in working in their business that they don't allocate any time to actually working on it.
Mhm.
Um, and that's where many find a limit to scale, and why they always feel exhausted, because they don't even take the time to be able to look at what's working, what's not, and be able to make calculated, informed decisions on how to actually grow their business. So, what does Friday look like?
Well, Friday is when you stop playing real estate agent and you put on your CEO hat. So I love Fridays because I have recently, in the last couple of years, decided to take Fridays almost completely off. I know it sounds so scary, but no one wants to go look at houses on Fridays anyways. No one's trying to like get my attention. So here's what I like to do on Fridays. I make sure that I got all the rest of my work done. If I missed something, if I miss those Tuesday current client calls, I leave Fridays open to get that done. Right? So like leave a little bit of space on Fridays for anything that was missed. And then with an hour or so left of that like half day for me, what I would recommend doing is doing your CEO and admin time. This is when you are tracking your metrics. And by tracking your metrics, like maybe you should count how many leads you generated this month. Did you generate some leads? Did we not? Well, maybe we should plan the following week to make sure we generate some leads, right? Like getting a little bit of a snapshot on what's happening in the business right now and then letting that guide our decision making in the next couple of weeks. This does not have to be very complicated. For me, it's literally tracking my leads, revisiting my goals, looking at the marketing plan I had for the month, and just looking ahead at the next week and making sure I'm scheduling everything in. And knowing what's coming up, having a little bit of a sense of like knowing what's on the schedule, that makes you feel so much more confident. Here's what you do: you get to just like hang out the rest of the day. If you have nothing else on the calendar, you get to hang out and enjoy a slow Friday. If you don't have anything crazy going on that weekend, like hopefully you planned in some business if you need to. I'm like old school. I feel like Saturday is a working day for real estate agents. But maybe you're planning in a little bit if you need to on the weekend. Or maybe you're not doing anything and you don't feel bad about it because you know where everything in your business is and you have a plan to tackle anything that's outstanding in the following week. Who says we can't enjoy a little bit of the freedom and spontaneous nature of real estate? Like, isn't that why we got into the business in the first place? You can't really do that guilt free if you're not like closing out your week. So, CEO time, that's going to happen on Friday. You're going to track your metrics, revisit your goals, look at your marketing plan, plan out the following week. And if that's all you got for the day, then that's all you got. And you did great and you can feel really good about it.
Yeah. And one of the most important concepts that I find associated with this topic is most real estate agents, the ones that are struggling, have a really distorted concept of what progress and productive work is. And
Mhm.
that's where, for me, again, I spend so much time looking at the data of all of our ads, looking at the data of all the content, because I want to be able to make calculated decisions to know that next week, when I put time into my content creation or maybe your prospecting, that you can guarantee you do it better. But
Mhm.
if you're not privy to the numbers, knowing what gets measured gets managed, you're never going to know where the holes in your bucket are. You're never going to know where you're wasting time. And so many people like to be in this state of just going constantly instead of being able to make calculated decisions, which comes from that deep work of like sitting in your office for 4 hours and looking at numbers, looking at data, auditing things so that you're not going astray the whole year. And that's why so many people start off January, they're like on point for a week. And then they're like completely in a different continent the rest of the year because they're not course correcting. And that's what I find is like if that whole analogy of like a plane is off track 97% of its flight, it's constantly making these little course corrections and it always lands on the destination. Well, it's because it's course correcting every week. Like if you where most agents go wrong is like it gets to September and they realize they just jacked the first 3 quarters of the year up. Have fun getting back on track, right? But if you're course
Yeah.
correcting a little bit every week, it's not that difficult to hit your goals because you're going to know where you're going wrong immediately instead of
Mhm.
waiting until it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, agents who don't know their numbers, they blame the market, and it's embarrassing, right? Because it's yours. It's your business. You made the decision to be a business owner, and you may not have understood that when you got into real estate. I don't think I did. I don't think I caught on to that until, like, year 3, because I was that agent in January. We had no closings in January and February into March, and I said, "What is happening? This is a 3rd year in a row. Who could have predicted it?" And it's because we would completely take our foot off the gas at the end of the year. Like, September would come around, and we're like, let's call it," you know?
Yeah.
We'd go travel, we would do whatever. We love a good boozy brunch. We were having a great time. And then we realized, like, oh, so we have no visibility over our business. We're not tracking what's coming up. And it is a numbers game. So maybe if we paid more attention to our numbers, we wouldn't have to work quite so hard. And I had another agent who I was coaching who went through this exact thing. And she is 10 years in the business like me, referral driven business just like me, different market, and she had the same kind of thing where as soon as she started tracking her numbers, she found it was taking her 6 months to close warm referrals that should have taken like 2 or 3 months as she was looking back at it. And she found that in doing a little bit of digging during her CEO time, that she was being like the cool agent. You know, she wasn't really like guiding their next steps. She wasn't being very clear in her direction because she didn't want to impose on what she knows to be a very like sensitive process of buying or selling a home. But what that was doing was it was causing overwhelm and uncertainty and a lack of confidence in her as the real estate agent, and she wouldn't have figured that out if she wasn't tracking her numbers and seeing like, all right, how many leads am I actually generating? How many of those are am I converting? And how long does it take from lead to close? And now I was talking to her this summer and she had 8 closings in 1 month with 3 listings coming up. And she was like, "It's fine. Like I feel great. I'm not overwhelmed. I can totally manage this. I have the right systems in place and I know what's coming up." You know, and it just allows you to have so much more peace in your business, and I think that that's the biggest thing that real estate agents want. They want peace, and they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it either by knowing their numbers and being strategic about building in peace, or they're gonna have peace by ignoring all of the red flags in their business, and that's gonna come with the side effect of a lot of hurt later, and we wanna avoid that, right?
Yeah. Well, and you said the magic word, which is, obviously we've gone through an entire week
Mhm,
of what an agent should do if they want to be able to build momentum to get 2 deals a month. Uh, but none of that's going to matter if you don't have systems.
mhm,
And systems in place is going to be what allows you to execute this on repeat with confidence and clarity every single week. And that's what you help agents with. And that's why I'd love to kind of just pull this together and talk about the fact that people now have the ability and the opportunity, which is incredible, to be able to get your help and my help to scale their business for free. and actually implement this into their business. So I'd love for you to just chat about, the fact that people can click the link in the description, book a call
Mhm.
with you, and have that open conversation about what it's like to get your direct mentorship to help take their business to that new height.
Yeah, I would love to share. Thank you. I know that every real estate business is so personal to the realtor. Right? Like, it's not just your business. It's not just a system. It's not just your clients. It is a reflection of all of the work that you've put in, right? And so what I like to do as someone who works with real estate agents is I want to start by understanding where you're at. We always start with a call, and it's a totally free, like totally confidential, no pressure, no strings attached, so that I can understand what's working in your business, understand where you want to go, and figure out what's in your way. And if it feels like or if it seems like from that conversation, I can help you remove that obstacle and give you some support so that you can get to where you want to go a lot faster, then that's where we do our work in the Market Authority Academy. So, Market Authority Academy, I'm helping agents overcome these plateaus or these obstacles that are in their way, not necessarily just due to market forces, which sometimes can factor into it, but more so just the things that we're not putting in place, like the systems. So we take what's working, we help you double down on it, and we streamline the rest so that we can build a lot more bandwidth and time in your day to day so that you can finally feel like you have enough space to be strategic and intentional about how you're running your business, and you can finally know exactly what you need to do each day to accomplish your goals.
I love it. Well, and that's such a cool opportunity when it comes to going into this next year. I think this next year is going to be a huge separator. And we're already seeing the parting of the seas of you're having market share being radically split between, a mass exodus of the industry and where does all the market share from the complacent agents that quit go to the ones that weather the storm. And so guys, again, feel free to click that link in the description. Stephanie and I would both be more than happy to have that conversation, help you out, and be able to help design a proven plan to help you execute a strategic week so that you can get to that point of closing 2 deals every single month with confidence, clarity, and predictability. So, Stephanie, thank you so much again for sharing this powerful week.
Oh my gosh, so happy to. Love the conversation. Thanks for having me.
Of course, guys, make sure you click the description, like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.